I bet everyone comes to a point in his or her career where they face this particular mid-career dilemma. And this dilemma is about a basic question of who am I? Now we are not talking about spirituality. We are talking about career. In career, you need to understand who you really are, because eventually you will end up in either of these two, regardless of any career. In IT, for example, you will be either doing this or that. But the biggest problem is, guys, if you by mistake or by getting influenced by certain factors, if you choose the other one, that would be misery for you. I'm telling you, be very conscious about it. So what are these two paths? So let's take the example of a guy called Rahul. So Rahul has 12 years of experience in IT industry, and he's working as a senior developer in a very good company. Now, one day his boss comes to him and gives him two options. One is he continues to do what he's doing and improve his skills, but obviously the growth aspects are slightly limited there. And then he gives him another option of kind of going into a management kind of track. You're getting me, right? You're getting me where we are going. So now these are the two paths which Rahul has to choose from. One is IC path, which is individual contributor, or as always, get into management and leadership. Okay, so now maybe 10-20 years back it was a no-brainer. Almost every second person used to choose this. Okay, but now the shifts are happening. The way we are growing, even individual contributor roles are becoming really strong. But the main part is to understand who you really are as a person and then decide. So before we get into the psychology of a person and how he or she should make that decision, let's understand what are these kind of roles. So, and when I say individual contributor, that does not mean that that person is not a team player, by the way. But at a bigger picture, they are contributing at an individual level, more or less. For me, individual contributor roles consist of roles like, I think this one is for sure business analyst. Okay, business analyst is an individual contributor role. You are not supposed to manage a team of people, do their appraisals or report too much to the stakeholders. Then you also have solution architects, technical architects as well. And I think senior developers also. All these kind of roles are individual contributor roles. And from management side, there are too many. So I will not even bother, because it also. Let's take one, engineering manager. But there are so many managers, so that's fine. So now you have to decide, and the decision should be on multiple factors. So what all are the factors? Okay. And there you have to understand that who you are as an individual. Okay. So first thing which I would say, start from yourself rather than checking who's getting paid more, which role has more visibility, which role will give me access to C-suite rooms and stakeholders. Don't go for that. First, ask this question: who you really are. Are you a person who get energized by speaking and talking to different people? It could be business stakeholders, it could be your team members. Because if you are a person who gets energized by it, if you are a person who loves to talk technical stuff and explain it to non-technical people, for example, if you are a person who loves to talk strategy, if you are a person who loves to manage people, make sure things get done on time, or if you are a multitasker who loves to switch between tasks, I think you are having that personality which would suit into a management leadership kind of a role. If you are not very bothered about what you are doing when and for how long, because in these kind of roles, you might have to work really late. There could be late meetings. You have to sit on calls, all those kind of things. Some people enjoy it. And for example, I have done both. Okay. So I'm telling you from my 18 years of experience, I have done both. And maybe I am a kind of a person who has enjoyed both, but it could be that you might not. Okay. So you have to take your call. But if you're a person who loves to do his job very well, if you are a person who wants to come, sit at his desk, grab a black coffee, sit, code, design, implement, and deliver, and then go home at 4 or 5 p.m. If you are a person who wants to get into the details of your technology, who wants to be hands-on, who wants to be coding, even at the experience level of 12 years, 15 years, then individual contributor role is fantastic. Okay. And I think there are people who are like that, and now the market is changing. There was a time when after a certain point of time, you were not paid that much. Okay. You were asked, especially in service companies. Again, the second decision making comes from which company you are in and which company you want to join. So companies which are product companies will definitely rate individual contributors almost equally, if not higher, than managers. In fact, Google has fired many product managers recently because they thought they were not adding enough value. Because today, any manager cannot survive if he is a pure people manager or a process manager. You have to know technology in IT. If you're not knowing the technology, it's gonna be difficult. I'm not saying you can't survive. You can survive on your communication, on your leadership, on your, but you need to gain respect of the team with whom you're working with. And you can't, no one is asking you to be a scientist, but you need to understand technology. You just can't come and lead an engineering team without any experience. And even in the interviews, it will be asked. So second thing is, first you ask yourself who you are. You got that answer. Now the second is where you are. Are you in a service company? How long you want to continue in that service company? Are you in a product company? Are you enjoying there? Do you think that you know enough technical now and now you want to do something which challenges you? Then maybe you can pick up this track. And by the way, there is a biggest myth that after a certain point, individual contributors can't get into management. Wrong. IC can anytime go here, but this is very difficult because once you get into management, you lose hands-on technical. And this has happened with me as well. Let me tell you my example. So I was leading a team of 35 people. I was leading Google Data Lake team. I was the manager managing the whole data engineering and data support. But after working there for 2 years, I realized that I am not doing enough for myself. I'm kind of just managing people, making sure things are done on time, being on call for hours, giving status reports, weekly status. And while I enjoyed all that because leadership is something which I enjoy, but I was thinking that the technical part in me is diminishing slowly. So I had to take a voluntarily exit. And then I went back as a very nice. Cloud architect. Cloud architect is also a good IC role. So I went into a cloud architect role, worked there for 1 or 2 years. And see, I had this flexibility because I have had multiple exposures to IC as well as management roles. So I keep on, challenging myself. But I think from money perspective, individual contributors are now getting equally paid. In fact, higher paid at a certain time. Like imagine a person who has done data engineering for 15 years. Versus who has managed data team for 15 years. There's a difference. So IC roles are very booming, especially in the startup era and in the AI era. You need people who are individual contributors. Managers you have in plenty. So whatever you have in plenty, the demand goes down. I'm not saying that they will be out of job. No, not at all. But I would highly say that individual contribution and individual contributor roles are coming. But at the same time, you should not do it if you don't enjoy it. Don't do it only for the salary perks. Because here the competition is fierce and the expectations are really high. And I tell you, in individual contributor role, there is a lot of objectivity. What is objectivity? Objectivity is something which can be measured. So objective. So when you appear for a certification exam, you get objective questions. So there is a right answer and there are wrong answers. There is no partially right, partially wrong most of the times. So similarly, wherever there is objectivity involved, there is pressure. For example, when I went after doing a lot of management, when I went into a cloud architect role, I was asked to deploy, a container. I think it was a SSL certificate needs to be deployed within a Kubernetes pod, something like that. And that user story was assigned to me on Jira. And then after a long time, I had to come on a daily stand-up and give the status of the story assigned to me, whether I have been successful or not. And there is no subjectivity involved. Either you have done it or you have not done it. And you are judged on that. So pressure is there. Okay. So yeah, but that pressure actually compels you to sit down and dig deep into what needs to be done, how you can do it. So very exciting. But it could be really different for people who don't want to go that deep after a certain experience in their career. They feel they have done it all and they don't want to now do it. They want the people who are younger to do it and they can just, manage them. That's not bad. Actually, you need those people. In management, the pressure is different. Here, there is subjectivity. So where there is subjectivity, there is no definition of failure. But at the same time, there is no definition of success. So the challenge with management roles is primarily that regardless of how good you work, there is no clear yes or no of whether you are doing good or bad. And actually politics comes into play a lot in these kind of roles, because there is subjectivity involved, there are gray areas, there are people pleasers, there would be people who would be pleasing their bosses more than what you are doing. So there are different struggles in here. Okay, another thing which which comes in here is the hierarchy of human needs. Now this is going bit out of IT, but the hierarchy of human need is this, that at the very base we need money. Once we are fed with a lot of money is when we crave for power. Okay, you might have seen judges in the Shark Tank, Ashneer Grover, Anupam Mittal, all these were billionaires, okay, before they came. But why they liked or why they thought of coming and judging Shark Tank India? Because that gave them, so they had money and they also had power, but what they didn't had, they didn't had fame. Okay, so as your needs go, your desires go like this. So if you have got enough money, you are earning well, what you would say, no, I just now want to, I want to have a say into the decision making process. No one is coming and asking me, no one is coming and asking business analyst how we are going to do the next quarter. No one is asking me how to give ratings to a person who has not helped me. I need that power. So that's where, you kind of drift towards this, which is not bad. I'm not saying that it is bad. Sundar Pichai developed Google Maps and today he is the CEO of Google. Okay. So at some point he was an individual contributor who has moved to a CEO position. So there's nothing bad. I'm not demeaning this. It is that, I know that this has its own challenges. And if you are someone who loves this, don't just go there just for the sake of power and fame, or people will know you and all, because that comes with additional pressure and additional complexities. So yeah, decision is yours, guys. I could only say that, these are certain aspects and pointers which you can keep in your mind and decide. And also take your time. You can also try and give yourself 6 months of time. If you have been an individual contributor and if you think, now I am at a position where I can actually influence people, lead people in the right way, try and go into this for 6 months, test the waters and see if you can swim. If yes, then sky is the limit. Even here you can go into sales, pre-sales. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And just imagine, with this technical knowledge, when you go here, you would be lethal, you would be replaceable. Okay, so don't think that it is anywhere less. And money wise, I think market pays you for who you are and what you could do for them. Okay, because it is eventually a trade which happens between two people or two individuals, and if you have enough value, the enough money will come. But I think justification here is now becoming more and more and more easier to justify. Here, yeah, subjectivity. Even in the interviews, there will be subjectivity. And the biggest thing is there is a lot of crowd here, because it is easier to go in. It is easier to manage, to lead. And I'm also leading, but I know myself, I know it's easier. It becomes tougher when you cross the mid-senior, when you exactly go to a very senior level, then the pressure is very, very different. I think not, you should only consider that when you are ready for it. The leadership and the management should come from within. You should have that rigor. So yes, guys, these are two paths. There is no third path. If there is any, comment below. I will be enlightened to know that. But at the very basic level, you are either an individual contributor or you are a manager or a leader. And there is no right or wrong. It's just the choices you make as a human, as an individual. And every choice is right as far as it is satisfying your needs, your desire. And if you're able to sleep at night, then you are right. Okay. So with that, it was a very different video. I just thought of this. I keep thinking about it, whether I'm an individual contributor or manager. Sometimes I think I'm an individual contributor, but then I think, no, I can lead as well. So this dilemma will never end, but keep asking questions. It's a journey. It's not a destination. Things will change. Perspective will change. Your views will change. So keep an open mind. And as always, keep learning, keep sharing, and keep growing. Bye for now.